Gary just tried to give me a countdown and then he pointed at me.
Action.
Action. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to episode 103, the one where we talk to Lauren Johnson all about her journeys, various journeys on the spine, how she got there, how she's going, where she's going to. It's a cracker. Run to the Hills podcast sponsored by Cheer Charge. Cheer Charge makes nutritious, tasty and easily digestible flapjacks. I know because I've just eaten listen to the wrapper. Cheer Charge, cocoa chia seed protein, 20 grams. My go-to mid-morning post-run snack, 20 grams. That's going to get me through to lunchtime, just about. They also make nut butters, including a delicious vegan range. Go check them out at www.cheercharge.co.uk. I'm so excited to talk to Gary because we are on a heavy interview schedule at the moment, which means we don't actually get to talk.
Yeah.
We just make scripts and go, okay, no, we don't actually get to talk. So
it's 2 hours. We've not actually really talked to each other, is it? We've been.
No, I get to hear you start telling me stories. I'm like, don't tell me yet. Don't tell me yet. Don't tell me now.
Cut me off.
I gave you some Strava kudos. Did you notice?
Did you really? Awesome.
I saw you back running. I saw that 45-minute mile. Tell me about
worst Strava. I really need to up my game on Strava. I should be over there.
Finley was like, Gary is following me.
Yes, they followed me. That made my day, that did.
So my eldest child, who's not allowed any social media or any fun at all on the screen, because he's only small, but I have given him Strava because a lot of his ski club training mates have it and they like to, and then also I like to know the routes he's gone on.
Yeah.
And he's only allowed, people he knows to follow.
Is he a premium member?
Is he not? He's like, what is that? I'm like, you do.
He wants a little red arrow.
He wants the arrow. He said to me, he's like, Mum, is it because you're a celebrity that you've got that? And I was like, yeah. Anyway, he was super chuffed, Gary, when he was like, Gary, get me kudos.
Ooh,
he's a little bit addicted. It's bad. Did I tell you this story? They went out for a run, him and middle child, and they were just going to go, we've got like a little loop we do. It's about 2K. And they didn't come back. Where have they gone? Oh my God, 45 minutes later. We had to make it to 6K, they said.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
oh, geez, you've become Strava wankers already. Anyway.
Round it up.
How are you feeling? How was the run?
Yeah, I was out with Rex this morning. I went out with Rex yesterday. You know what? I think Rex has missed running more than I have.
Is he nuts?
He's had so much energy. He has had so much energy. So yeah, a couple of gentle runs. He jumped in the bloody pond again, got his little paws mucky. But yeah, it's been really, really nice getting out there, especially now the weather's broke a bit in the UK and it has cooled down a lot. And that's partly why, it's coincided. I've not really wanted to run after Lake 100 and it's been super hot. So Rex, it's not great for little black dogs to be running around. I think, they suffer a bit. So yeah, it's been awesome getting back. And I think that's, I really should maybe just get my saddle hardened again, get on the bike. That should be the next thing. I'm paying for the bloody Zwift.
Your Christmas presents run out now. You need to.
Yeah.
Are you going to put a bit of biking in now, a bit of cross training back
100%.
in?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've already done scheduled. I like the plan, so I've scheduled nothing too strenuous. I want these kind of 3-hour bike rides on the weekend, just something to keep the legs spinning over. Because definitely for the next couple of weeks, I'm getting back to moving, but no training, just as and when I feel it. But yeah, that's been really good. And I have entered a race, which should be quite good. I'm looking forward to that. Well,
Crack addict. You're such an addict. You were like,
classic
I
four.
thought you were going to now. I thought you're going to go the whole year now. He's going to have to go. You can't do it. You can't do it, can you?
Well, it's just football. I saw a few people that entered this race, and then my little social group, Thirsty Thursday group, of talking about entering it. So entered the Tour de Hell Velen, which I'm visualizing like permafrost, cloud inversions, lovely blue skies. The reality could be quite a bit different to that. So we'll see how. I think some years they've had to modify the course. It's been such bad.
Cancel it.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it Well, maybe I'm a regret. I didn't do the, nowadays after COVID, you always get the option for race insurance. I was like, I don't need race insurance. So maybe I've just waved goodbye to 40 quid, whatever it was.
What's 40 quid to you? You loaded, Gary. It's fine.
Oh yeah, we're dripping in money. So yeah, that's it. End of the race and back to running. So that's good. I'm looking at my little white beard.
It's gross. You need to sort that out.
You know, it's a little pet hate of mine.
It's almost coming through Zoom at me, that goatee.
When I see a beard, but it's a tiny beard. They do the little tidy the neck up. I really don't like that. I don't know what it is. It triggers me. I
really don't like any facial hair, to be honest. No. But I prefer it with you.
This is about as long as it gets.
Yeah, you look a distinguished gentleman, I'm sure.
Sophisticated, I think it's
sophisticated.
That's talking about sophisticated. How are you doing, Edwina?
We are minging today, aren't we? We're both doing this in our running kit. We finished the run like 3 hours ago. Yeah. It's far from sophistication. So yes, all good. We're back in the Alps. Thank gosh. We had a storm. Weather's broken here a bit as well. I tell you what, autumn's coming. I know, 11 degrees. Had to put a jumper on in the morning.
Oh,
I don't mind it. I get a bit giddy. You know me, I could start getting a bit giddy. 2 weeks' time, we have to measure the kids for ski boots and skis. It all starts again, Gary.
I know.
It's madness. So we're back in the Alps. I did my first full week last week, which I was pretty impressed with, considering it was a travel days as well, because they're often quite, aren't they, to have training. So I clocked up almost 70 miles running with.
That's a big first week.
Big 10,000 feet, which isn't a ton for me climbing. Did my longest, so I did two. So I was talking to a mate, which made me think, I like this this style of looking at training, that you have 3 tokens a week to burn. Okay, 3 tokens to put in your fruit, which you do as well, but don't you? And I always do as well. But so I burnt my 3 tokens last week. I don't really shouldn't really have used 3 tokens last week. 2 would have been plenty. Yeah. But I had a big 3rd token that I burnt on the long run day. So I did 5 by 3 minutes, which was a shock to the lungs more than the legs.
And what was your recovery?
I just did 1 minute, because the rep is short enough that you kind of done in 1 minute. And I wasn't pushing it to like, so normally I'd be looking at around like 6-minute mile pace for those 3 minutes, and I do 8 to 10 depending on how I was feeling. So I just had 1 minute, and I didn't quite push it to 6 minute. I was like, I'm not sure how close to that fast running I'm going to go for spine training, because do I want to hamstrings? Keeping that fast running, we want to keep that fast running in, but I've also got to be wary that I've got to get the volume in as well. Tricky balance. So my tokens got to be spent wisely. Then I did a 10-8-6-4-2 minute along the seafront. Might have placed it for a couple of Strava crowns as well. Thinking, if I do this bit down, I'll go. It was amazing. The kids were like jumping off the groins going into the sea. It was so hot, and having a swim, overlooked by hubby. I hadn't just left them in the sea as I was running up and down and running. Beautiful. And so I did 2 sessions, and then I did my long run. Had a couple of mates over in Morsey, so I said, I'll plan a route. One happens to be training for London Marathon, so I was like, it's not too much climbing. There's quite a bit of running in this route. What I wouldn't call, like, there's a lot of track, so it's like, I call that, it's quite
How
easy.
Did she interpret the run though?
Well, then it had 5,200 feet of climbing. and she did amazing. She was still running at the end. We sort of went off our separate ways to go home. So, and I thought it was about 16, 17 miles, and it was nearer 23 miles, and it took us, I said it'll take us about 3 hours, and it took us near on 5 hours. Oops.
I hope she doesn't remember that and think that was probably where she peaked.
That was like, I left it all out there, and she didn't. She did amazing, and she's like, she's going to smash London Marathon. Well, you could do stuff like that, run on home and get on with the rest of your day. I was tired. That's my longest run. Oh my God, Gary, that was my longest run this year, and we're in because I haven't really, I've done a lot of 17, 18 miles, and we were just talking before the show, weren't we, that 17, 18 mile long runs are okay. And once you go over 20, they tend to be a bit more spicy, don't they?
Yeah, especially trail miles. Yeah.
Trail miles. Yeah, it's not trail, only 5,000 feet climbing. It's easy money. So yesterday I had a super busy day, and my legs were tired. I had that constant dehydration.
Ooh,
So
yeah, okay.
threw in a rest day and thought I'm going to feel better for it today. Just did a little recovery trot this morning, and I'm still alive, but I'm
How are you on the coaching journey? Are you still a self-coached athlete, or?
Yeah, I'm going to stay that way. I'm going to quiz a few people of various things, but I've got my wall planner out and planning. I'm sort of going through it week by week. I've got like what I want to get to, but I'm also really, those tokens are going to be like just progressed as I feel. And that backpack and those long runs. I want to enjoy the process as much as possible as well. I want to really enjoy this build because I'm not going to get a chance to do this race again. There's no way I can put the money and the time, and I don't want to. It's got to be a one-time. How I say that then? It's your life already entered.
If only we had a platform where we could invite coaches on and chat about stuff to.
You think people might get a bit fed up because so might be like, Eddie, talk about something. But everyone understands this, don't they? As runners, is that you invest. I'm all in. I'm all both feet in. It's all I can think about. It's all every training run. And I hope people listen. You know, if you do like you with Lake 100, it's like everything. If you want to be successful, or at least give yourself the best shot at the start line, even if it all goes tits up. Yeah. If it all goes tits up, you're going to feel a lot less bereaved if you've done everything you can to put yourself on that start line, aren't you? Rather than the other way around.
I did Redcar Half Marathon, and I knew I dodged sessions, and I didn't have the day I'd hoped for. And yeah, I can look back and reflect on my Lake 100 training. It wasn't perfect, but I constantly remember Redcar Half Marathon if I ever think about skipping a session, and I don't want that feeling again.
Going back to the kids as well, is a horrible session that they've got on this Friday for their training. And the eldest one said, no one's going. No one's going to go and do it. And so he said, I'm not going. And so I just turned and went, it's too hard for you, is it? You're not going to go.
Oh, Eddie. Messing with his
and he looked at me and I just left it there, just walked away. On Friday, eh? I'm not sure if that's good parenting or not.
I'm not so sure that is that.
I was like, is that the sort of thing you should be saying to your child? Too ugly then, is it? It's horrendous what they make them do. Anyway, let's talk about people that have been actually doing races and not just banging on about kit and training.
Yeah.
What we got?
We've got Scott Brown again.
Tattoo guy, as we call him. Come on, let's get Tattoo guy on the podcast.
I would love, if anyone knows Scott and has a kind of connection to Scott, then reach out. Or Scott, if you listen, you reach out. I'd love to have a chat with you. Hear about your story. But yeah, he smashed the race across Scotland, 58 hours, 7 minutes and 55 seconds, and that was a new course record too. And it was hot. It has been hot in the UK. Obviously, I don't know what the temperature was in Scotland. I'm imagining a bit cooler, but still pretty challenging conditions. And in the ladies, Alison Walker, she is in the lead and running well, but she is still out there. So that just gives you an idea how long this
on the tracker. We just had a look, didn't we? And she's estimated to finish at 89 hours, 60, 70, 30 hours ahead. And we were giving kudos to the volunteers that were out running those checkpoints.
Oh my goodness me.
The dots are scattered across the country. So yeah, anybody that is running that race might still be running on Friday listening to the podcast, or anyone that's run it, give us a shout. We'd love to hear more about the setup, how it went.
I need to crunch the numbers. What Scott Brown's average pace is for a 58-hour finish.
We need Angela for that. She's going to work out a spreadsheet for that.
Yay.
We also had the Thames Challenge, where our friend of the show, Melissa Montague, and husband Justin, both won 185 miles ultra over 4 days in searing heat. Justin not only won, but he also smashed the course record. And Melissa sent me a Facebook message telling me how it went, and that she wanted to shout out to her husband, but I'm going to give a shout out to her too. Hello, my awesome friend, she says, of course. Hope all's well with you. I wouldn't normally ask, but any chance of a podcast shout out? Always a chance. Slip into my DMs out in the race reviews, because I'm a tiny bit proud of us conquering this epic distance, 185 miles. Heat, listen to this, heat, dog bite, and a trip to A&E, plus a lady I was running with collapsing in day 2. Gosh, need this one to never forget. I always have so much respect for the Walkers XRNG, which is a multi-day race company that Melissa and I met and have run with quite a few times together. Great. We should give them a shout out before, who get in so late and have to go again with so little recovery time. I got a taste of this at the weekend as I spent as much time with my head under a lock tap and buying ice cream to cool off as I did running. And it's so tough. Used every trick in the book to stay safe and cool, and boy, was an emotional finish line. Hubby, true to form, ignored the conditions and smashed the course record by over an hour. Typical. Very proud wifey. Clapping emoji, kiss, kiss, kiss. Amazing.
Guests, I think they're ready.
Yeah, I know. Future guest. Justin's a vicar, so we could have a little blessing at the same time, Gary.
Yay.
A little ceremony. I love a personal race note, and anyone that did that challenge, 185 miles over 4 days. Woo!
2 epic races there.
2 epic races. Yeah, people are going to complain. They would complain enough that we're only interviewing epic people. We're only talking about epic races. It wasn't purposeful. It just happened to be on at the same time.
And it was good. We did a spread from north to south like that. Talking about with south to north, isn't it? This week's guest, Lauren Johnson. She hasn't done the full spine yet, but that's definitely on the cards, I think. But yeah, we chatted with Lauren about the winter spine sprint, and then also she won. It was the new course record holder in the summer spine challenger. Yeah, really enjoyed. Quite insightful, Lauren's approach and learnings from the sprint, and I super enjoyed this chat. I hope you guys do too.
This week we have Lauren Johnson on the show. Thank you so much for coming on the Run to the Hills podcast. Where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
Thanks for having me both. I'm in sunny Nottingham, which I'm sure the whole country is very sunny and very warm. The view from my window, I'm currently sat in my second bedroom, and I've got some lovely trees that I'm looking at, so it could definitely be worse. I've not been for a run yet. On a Monday, I tend to run in the evening with my local club, so I'll be doing that about 7 o'clock tonight.
What does that sort of run involve? Bit of recovery, or is it a session?
Yeah, my Monday night run's a recovery run, so I tend to use it to catch up with friends, either at the club or locally. So
I love a recovery Monday.
It's a nice, enjoyable one.
Yeah, I love a recovery Monday. I can't get my head around doing a session on a Monday.
Quite often you've done a race or a big run on a Sunday, and then I know I'm part of a running club, and yeah, they do occasionally do a session on a Monday, and I'm like, nope.
Even if I haven't done anything at the weekend, still need a recovery day, just from the fact it's the weekend.
What running club are you involved with, Lauren?
So they're based in West Ridgeford, called Home Pierpont.
Awesome. Do you get involved? Are you a coach, a committee member, or anything?
Yeah, I'm the vice chair. And this is my second year in that role. So I'm quite heavily involved. I really enjoy it, actually. So.
I'm a very passive member of a running club, and I'm always curious what it involves being on the committee or vice chair. Yeah, what is it quite a lot of work?
I guess it's a general committee role, vice of any position. So I cover for the chair in their absence, but just generally supporting club members with any queries, any issues that come up, just arranging activities, arranging events, just generally trying to enhance the experience. We've got about between 300 and 400 members. So
oh wow, that's quite a big club.
It's not just a little village club. This is
no, it's pretty sizable. Yeah.
Do you have like a hoodie with like vice chair on, or a special?
No, we've obviously got kit and we've got hoodies, but yeah, we don't have our positions on the hoodies. No, definitely not.
I definitely would. I love that. Did you say Home Pierpont, where the big lake is?
Yes,
right?
Where the National Water Sports Centre is. Yeah, just
That's
there.
It. I know it well. Back in my triathlon days, used to go and do national relays up there and camp up there.
Nice.
And run round it and round it and round it.
I mean, I have to say we try to avoid running around it because, I mean, as you've experienced, it's fairly soul destroying. Although it is flat.
It's just flat, but it's like never comes to the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like endless, and you're only running about 3K and it feels like 400.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Could you tell us a bit about yourself, what your day job is, and what you...
Nice chair, Gary, that's all she does.
Nice, yeah. Probably is a full-time job, yeah. But yeah, what you do for a day job and what got you into running?
So I work in a bank. I work in risk oversight in an investment and fund space. So I provide insight, oversight and challenge for the investment business, essentially. Yeah. So yeah, so I've been doing that.
You want to invest in this and you have a look and you go, good idea or bad idea?
Not really. I'm the risk side of it. So just to ensure that we're keeping our stakeholders, safe, keeping customers safe, that the business are making sound decisions.
Super different to the running job.
Yeah, the running's definitely an escape. I mean, it's most definitely a desk job. So I love getting out in the countryside. I've been running, I think I started about 15 years ago, around 2008, and it was the Great North Run that got me into it, because I just watched it year after year on TV, and I thought I really just need to have a go at that. So yeah, but I was definitely a fair weather runner back then. It would just be, I think I did the Great North Run 5 times, but it would always be like I'd train in inverted commas from January through to August very, very loosely. And then pot around the Great North Run and have a lovely time, but then do no running until the next January and then do it again. So, which
sounds exactly like me.
But yeah, I joined my running club in 2016 and then kind of got a little bit more serious. And I wouldn't say I'm serious, but there's a bit more structure then. So we do have proper sessions. So,
and what took you from the roads to the trails? That's quite a big, Great North Run to Spine Sprint and Spine Challenger is quite a big jump.
I've got a lockdown to thank for that, I guess.
Oh wow!
Obviously, there wasn't very much to do, was there? So
yeah,
I'd spend a lot of time just running local trails. So I was living over in Derbyshire at the time, and there were lots of lovely trails on the doorstep, and it was where we were was fairly hilly. So, and I'd just previously been running on the flat roads of Nottingham. So yeah, that was an interesting experience. And then as soon as they lifted the restrictions, we started going out into the Peak District more. And yeah, I just fell in love with it.
It seems like a bit of a love affair with the Spine and that Spine series, really. Did it all kind of evolve at roughly the same time?
Last summer, one of my close friends who I've done a couple of ultras with just suggested we should have a go at the sprint. And I thought it was insane, to be honest. I can remember sitting at my desk getting the WhatsApp and I thought, yeah, and then I just thought, why not actually? So we signed up for it. And I think there's one of the chaps at our running club, and he'd been egging us on previously that we should have a go at the Spine. So we'd always sort of suggest, said that was just ridiculous. But yeah, there we were in January on the start lines.
The sprint was like 40 something like that miles.
Yeah, I think mine ended up about 47, 48 because I had a bit of a nightmare around Stoodley Pike at around 2 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, so it runs from Edale to Hebden Bridge.
Yeah, nice. And how did it go? Apart from your nightmare.
I mean, we had very challenging weather, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd recce the course in its entirety. I was very comfortable with the route. I was comfortable running in the dark. I thought I was comfortable with terrible weather, but the weather we had that day was I've never experienced anything like it. It was biblical. It was just horrendous from start to finish. And I had a couple of falls, ended up hurting my right foot, hurt my left knee, hurt my elbow. It was a shuffle to the end, and it was just sheer bloody mindedness that got me to the finish, to be honest. I loved it.
Were you with your friend who kindly convinced you?
No, we ended up going separately because of conditions, because the forecast had dropped significantly. It'd been a lot milder over New Year, and then early January it was forecast to be really icy, snowfall, really cold. And I personally don't cope very well when it's cold. I had like 3 pairs of gloves on. I really struggle. So we went separately, which, yeah, I about 15 miles in, I realised that was an absolutely terrible decision. But I was fortunate. I met 2 really nice chaps called Guy and Paul, and we shared about 20 miles together, which was very welcome because on Black Hill, I mean, I don't know if it is actually termed this, but we had thunder snow. So there was a storm and really heavy snow, and the slabs were covered in ice, and either side of the slab was just bog. It was a real experience that I wouldn't have wanted to have by myself. So I was lucky to be with them.
Why have it by yourself when you could share that sort of joy?
Absolutely.
It's so high risk,
something, isn't it? When you're in a real harrowing, like either the weather's really bad or you're in some really sketchy terrain. If you're with other people, it does take like the anxiety. So if you can share that, it just slightly takes you out of your inner turmoil, doesn't it? A little bit. Even though they're random strangers. It's like grabbing a random stranger in the supermarket, isn't it? Just come around with me because I'm going to feel a whole lot better if you just stand next to me and fall
Miles shared with people. Mark Brathwaite said it in the speech before the Lakeland 100. You know, sharing miles with people are much more pleasant than on your own. I think, you know, I always think these, I'm just saying, Eddie, just before we start recording, I've entered the Tour de Helvellyn, which is end of December, mid-December. But yeah, these winter races, Lauren, they're such high risk for the weather. You see these photographs on Facebook or Instagram with the cloud inversions and they all look fantastic. But the reality is driving rain and thunder, snow, that's what usually happens.
And when you're cold and wet, aren't you? Like,
yeah,
it's difficult
It's no joy in
come out the other side of that. Yeah. Well, exactly. So I saw the Guy and Paul, these two chaps I was with, they were ahead of me at Torside, and I thought, you're not leaving me now, we're just staying together. which did make it slightly more pleasurable, I have to say. So
that should be on the kit list, a little lanyard.
Definitely.
Clip onto. Now, obviously didn't put you off because you did go for the summer spine challenger, but did you have any takeaways, any lessons from, I know it's probably quite a different race because of the weather, but anything you could take forward into the summer challenger?
I learned so much. I mean, I had recce'd the course, I'd been out in the dark, but I realised I wasn't massively comfortable with the dark, so I knew that was something I needed to work on. I knew that
made you uncomfortable in the dark, because I think quite a lot of people might feel like that. And how did you overcome it?
I think it's just because I think like anything, it's like consistency. You know, if you do something often enough, it becomes more familiar, and then the noises you hear or the things that you think you see, you can rationalize in your head a bit more. I think it was literally just repetition that actually made me feel happier with it. Definitely kit. So it was a completely new challenge to me in January, and I got recommendations from friends, and it was great kit. But for things like nutrition, I had an like fast packing bag, and my food was like in the top in a pouch behind, and my hands were so cold I couldn't bear the thought of taking the bag off to take my gloves off to unzip it. So essentially I just didn't eat enough, which was just silly because we were out for forever, it felt like, anyway. Actually, what we've just spoken about, being brave enough to push on by myself as well, because so I stayed with the two people I was with from Torside up until around the M62, where there's a food van that a lady called Nikki puts on, which is a very welcome sight in the middle of winter. But I was just too cold to stay, so I then pushed on from then on. And I think I probably should have gone earlier because I was so cold. So just being a bit more being braver as well, I guess.
A bit more self-sufficient because
exactly. And spending less time at aid stations as well. It's very, there's the comfort and safety of being there, but actually you're getting cold, you're losing time. Just grab and go. So
that's a great tip with the backpack, having your food there. And it's a shame you realised it on the actual race itself, but just knowing how and when to get to your nutrition. And I know personally, when it transitions into winter, it takes me a couple of weeks to get used to those noises in the dark before I'm comfortable with running. Yeah, definitely. You've got to get out there and just get used to it.
It's called on to Rex. I don't like it. This is a baddie. This is a monster. Can you just explain to me, we started talking about the challenge project. So you did the summer sprint, and then did you immediately then think, I want to go bigger, I want to go further?
So I did the winter sprint, and I ended up on crutches I had just a really massive fat ankle. It was very attractive. And I was staying at my friend's house at the time because I was buying a house, and I was sitting on his sofa with my foot up, and I thought I was really disappointed in myself. I just knew I hadn't done myself justice. So I just went straight on and signed up for the summer, even though I couldn't actually get up the stairs or
Better.
Yeah, exactly. So
how long were you on crutches for? How long did that last?
Not very long, to be fair. Because I went for an X-ray and they thought I damaged some tendons, and thankfully it was just a really badly swollen ankle, so maybe like 3 weeks max.
Okay.
So, but obviously it took a while to be running again. But
so let's talk about the Challenger. How did you approach that? Maybe obviously very different races. Can you just tell us the difference between the sprint and the Challenger, and then perhaps tell us the difference between how you approach them differently?
Yeah. So they both start in Edale. As I mentioned before, the sprint stops at Hebden Bridge. The Challenger takes you all the way to Hardraw in Yorkshire. There's one official checkpoint, which is at Hebden Hay, which is adjacent to Hebden Bridge. I mean, when I set out on the sprint, I got it in my head I was going to do it in 11 hours. I mean, the conditions and everything that happened on the day, I was out for 15, but that's a kind of a manageable amount of time to know you're going to be doing something. I'd never previously done anything over 100 miles. The Challenger in its entirety is 108, 109.
What's the furthest you've done before the Challenger, just to put it in a bit of context?
So in a race environment, 52 miles.
Okay.
So I have done a 24-hour lap event, but obviously that's quite different because you're not carrying kit. You're not, you know, you've got a team there handing you things. So, but in terms of actual race being self-sufficient, 52 miles. So,
and which race was that? Sorry.
So that was the Penlyn Summer Ultra, the 50 on the Clym Peninsula in Wales. So it was lovely.
That sounds pretty tasty.
So what did your training look like different?
So I kind of, like, when I reflected while sitting on the sofa with my foot up, that I'd overtrained really for the sprint. I'd done a lot of weighted runs. I'd done a lot of back-to-back weighted runs. I was fairly tired going into it, so I thought I really want to do myself justice, and I thought I'll consider getting a coach. It isn't something I've ever thought about in the past, because I kind of think it's like reserved for super speedy people, or I don't know. It's just something that's never crossed my mind. So yeah, I had a look around. I wanted somebody that had Pennine Way experience and spine experience, and I wanted more structure. Yeah, that was my first step towards the Challenger anyway.
Sensible step. And then so then what did you revamped your training? Less training, more training, more quality?
So I guess it's quality over quantity. So I work with Howard Dracup, and he's very keen on ensuring that you actually listening to your body as opposed to rigidly following a plan. I was training in blocks as well, so I think for the sprint I just focused on the long run really, naively, whereas the first maybe 4 to 6 weeks it was just like building up my VO2. That was what we focused on, and then we did a bit of tempo, and then we did endurance maybe the 6 weeks prior to the taper, because in my head I thought, oh gosh, I'm only doing 6 weeks of long runs, 6 or 7 weeks, and I thought, oh, that's just not going to get me to the end. How's it going to work? And not appreciating that all the bits you're doing beforehand, the VO2 and the tempo, were all adds to it. So
did you go and do a formal VO2 max test? It's come up on the podcast just the other week. Did you do anything as specific as that?
No, I didn't, but I'd be tempted, I think, in the future.
Gary wants to too. Gary, you could get a little tribe of people to go and suffer in.
I'm really curious, because I'm not coached by anybody. I rely on metrics by Garmin to determine what my thresholds are and things like that. So they're pretty inaccurate, I suppose. I'd just be curious if I could be a bit more accurate, if I could squeeze a bit more out of the tank. Interesting.
Yeah, I have thought about it, but I'm a bit hesitant. I mean, I appreciate that they're really scientific, but I've had a few friends historically that have been, and then they've ended up getting injured because the zones have been too far one way, I think. Yeah. So that puts me right off. And a lot of what I do now is run into effort, which I think you can get so focused on pace, can't you? And if you've had a really exhausting day at work, or life happens and you're trying to go out and hit a certain pace, that's got injury potentially written all over it. Whereas if you run into an effort, it doesn't matter. Who cares if it's a minute slower than the week before? You're doing your best at that moment in time. So it was like reframing training as well.
Reframe, so willing. Those are my key words, especially during the holidays. How did the kit differ then between the sprint and the Challenger? Gary's just been looking up the kit list because I'm boring him with my purchase.
23-page PDF. I cannot believe it.
I mean, it's enormous. I get the kit list really for the winter was more extensive, despite it being a shorter race, clearly because the conditions are likely to be significantly more severe. So in the winter, we had to mandatory kit includes a sleeping bag, a roll mat, a stove, gas, a bivy bag, extra layers, extra everything essentially. And having been out in it in January, I completely respect the requirement for that, because if you need to stop, you're going to be cold in 60 seconds. So if you're waiting for an hour plus for somebody to get to you, you need it all. The summer's still an extensive list, clearly you can still get very cold out on the hills. But the things like you don't have to take a sleeping bag, roll mat, etc., unless you're planning to sleep out on the trail, which I had absolutely zero intention of doing. So I just went as fast and light as possible. So I invested in quite a lot of montane kit, I have to say. But I trained with it from for about 3 months, and it worked a treat. I was really happy with it. So
what backpack did you go for second time round?
So I wore the Gecko 20, but I was deliberating right up until the night before whether to go with the 12. I could have
everything in the 12.
I could have got everything in the 12. And the reason I didn't take it is I was worried that if something happened and I needed something at the bottom of the bag, then trying to repack it in the middle of the night when you've been going for, 20 hours is more challenging. And that did happen. So I was quite grateful for having the bigger bag, but it's just more cumbersome, I guess. But I didn't take anything extra.
Are they fundamentally the same bag, just a bigger version, or is the?
Yeah, and you can pull the drawstrings in on the 20, so it's not sort of jumping up and down or anything. But
I think all three of us will. I've got the 12. It's an awesome backpack that the montane
somewhere. I like that. I wear the 20 quite often just on my long run because I love the comfort of it, and you can just pull the backpack. And then, like you said, you don't need to I love my Salomon one, my 12 litre, but you have to stuff everything in.
Mm-hmm.
So it really messes up my lovely spine jacket as well. It makes it really crumpled.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wondered. I wonder if the race directors on the winter spine get emails still probably by men saying, "Do I need this tape same jacket, or will this one be okay?" Or nobody bothers these.
No, they absolutely do. You should have a look. People, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Idiots. Will this do? It's like there's just a list, and even on the kit list, if you people listening that have never looked, Lindley puts up this will be passed and this won't be passed, and then people still ask a picture of them this won't be passed. Well, that's okay, people, it's all part of the process, isn't it? So nutrition, let's just zone in on that a bit, because perhaps that was a little bit of one of your biggest learnings from the sprint. Presumably you placed the nutrition in front of you, and perhaps you'd had a bit more of a plan.
Yeah, I mean, I was really rigid with my nutrition. I've got ulcerative colitis, so I'm always worried on any run trying to eat anything in a race environment. So I practice everything as much as physically possible. So I had it all in the pouches that sit below the water bottle. The 20 is awesome actually because it's got those two massive side pockets as well, so you can just reach in and grab.
Endless.
So they're endless. Yeah, they're endless. So I ate every 30 minutes. From start to finish. I had the little alert on my watch.
Yeah.
I ate the same things in the same order because that's what I practiced, and I knew they weren't going to bother me. And don't get me wrong, it was the training was really boring. It was boring on the day, but I knew it would work, and it worked a treat. So
what was it? What was your choice of snacks?
So I had all sorts, but I like the Mountain Fuel non-caffeine jellies. I like the Cheer Charge bars. I have the Talk flapjack, but it's like a carrot cake flavor that works quite well. It's got I pick things that are quite high carb value generally to try have about 60 grams of carbs an hour. That was one of the things we worked on through my training, was to up the amount of my carb intake, which we did gradually. Hula hoops, they're just a must.
And then did you drink any electrolyte carb drink, or did you just go water?
I drank water. I started with 3 litres, which is obviously quite a lot to carry, but it was really humid. And I carried 250 mils of Coke as well, which was my little treat. Yeah, I didn't carry any electrolytes because they don't sit well with me. So there's only one checkpoint, which is at Hebden Hay, where you can have your drop bag. So you have all your supplies there. They do provide a meal, which was like a vegan lentil cottage pie type. I can't really remember. I did have some of it. But I just had everything in my pack that I knew would do me for the duration. So I wasn't going to rely on what was there.
I love that preparation and the absolute rigid sticking to half an hour and the thought process it's gone. And also the relentless of the repetition of the eating. I think people, again, try and make it too fancy and too tricky to then follow, and then they don't know what they've eaten, or they think they've eaten loads. But actually, if you just repeat the same cycle again and again and know that it's not exactly going to be your Christmas dinner, but it doesn't need to be, you just need to keep doing that adventure.
It was basically left pocket, right pocket, left pocket, right pocket on repeat till the end.
It's such a good tip.
What shoes did you wear, Lauren? Did you wear ones from the sprint to challenger?
Yeah, so in the sprint I wore, good question, Solomon Speed Cross, and in the challenger I wore the Innovate Cross Talon 260s, I think they are.
Old school Speed Cross. You don't hear that very often, do you, anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I wore them because they're super comfy, but they were awful on the ice. They were really, really shocking on the ice.
Did you not put any spikes on the ice?
No, because they were also in my backpack at the back with my 3 pairs of gloves needing to unclip and unzip. So my brain was like, you're not getting your hands cold in January. So
yeah, it's course. And when you haven't fueled as well, you think like, no, it'll be fine. I'll just keep going. And then at the end, like, if I'd eaten that flapjack and put my spikes on, life could have been, but it's all part of the process.
And equally, you have to carry really attractive.
Did you wear the goggles?
Snow goggles? No, because they're in the back of my backpack. But going along Blackstone Reservoir into a blizzard,
you were like,
and you're like, I can't see. You've got flipping goggles in your bag. But I just honestly didn't. I couldn't bear thought taking my gloves off. I know this is ridiculous, and they're all learnings, and they've all helped me for the summer, and they'll help me for the future. But yeah, at the time, I made some very silly decisions.
We all do it. It's crazy though. I was curious. How much you said with 3 liters of water and Coke? How much would you have had to start with? Is there a minimum?
Yeah, so the minimum is 3 liters.
Okay.
Well, no, you don't have to start with 3 litre liquid. You have to have 3 litre capacity, so that the ability to carry 3 liters. And I was only going to start with 2. And actually, Howard messaged me on the morning and said, "Can you take an extra litre? It's too humid," which was a great tip, because they don't have, other than at Hebden, which is the main checkpoint, there's no guarantee of any water on the course. There are occasional MRT, not checkpoints, but stations, kind of, where there may or may not be water. And if they did have water, you're only allowed 500 mils. So you'd have to take it from the land, which is fine, but it was bone dry. So, I went with the 3 liters.
How did you carry that then? Did you have sort of closed Salomon or any kind of soft flask? Doesn't have to be Salomon.
So I had the soft flask in the front of the Gecko, and then I had a soft flask either side laying down, like on top of the food, and then I had 2 soft flasks in my pack as well.
Amazing.
In the back of the pack.
I bet that was so heavy.
I bet that was
my pack was like over 8 kilos. It was, and I had super light kit, but with 3 liters of water, and then you're carrying your food. You take enough food to get you to Hebden Bridge, but then from Hebden Bridge you've got to take enough to get you to the end. So you've then got, 65 miles worth of food eating every 30 minutes. That they end up being 2 sizable packs to then put in your bag. So
even if you just had, I always talk about Kendall Mint Cake, because it's pretty much 1 to 1 gram per, so you get 1 gram of weight for 1 gram of carbohydrates. Phenomenal. But even that kind of efficiency, it's still a hell of a lot of food to carry. Highs and lows, any particular high and low moments?
Yeah, I mean, I had a low. I most definitely had a low going up Fountains Fell, and then, which is just before you drop into the valley that takes you up to Pennygent.
Okay.
I think in my head I'd expected to not enjoy that section, but I genuinely hadn't anticipated that I would be out front, and so I hadn't considered how that might feel to be first lady with the thought of people being on your back. And I think I'd just come through the night. I was tired, emotional, and everything just got to me. So yeah, I had a real wobble going up there. Highs. Oh, there were loads of highs. It was it was really nice at Malham Cove. It was complete. You go there and it's quite touristy, but at 5 a.m, there's nobody there. It was lovely coming out of Gargrave and seeing the sunrise. I had quite a few of my friends from the club were dotted around the course. It was just lovely just to, get a quick hi as I jogged by. Met some absolutely lovely people out there. So that, that's always a bonus. It was a great day. It was a really good experience.
But I love it when a friend just pops up on the course, and you may be expecting them or not, but just a little timely boost, a little hello, a high five is great.
Yeah, it makes such a difference. One of my friends was at Gorpool Reservoir, and I wasn't aware he was going to be there. So it was so lovely when I just popped over the hill and then saw him at the bottom. And that was just before it sort of nightfall, so it was a really nice boost to take me into the night. So.
And you mentioned you didn't expect to be out in front. So when did that happen? And was there a moment where you were like, barring injury, I've got this?
So I started out really steady. I always start out steadily, and just try not to get any slower. Essentially, I'm no good at going out hard and hanging on. I really just don't enjoy ultras, approaching them in that manner. I caught up with the lady who was in first at Pinhall Beacon, which is about 60-ish miles in, around 100k. Okay. And I'd been quite a way behind her at Hebden Hayes Scout Hut, because I'd seen her as I was going in. I'd seen her coming out, and I worked out the amount of time it took me to get Hebden Hayes quite a way down off the road, and it's a bit of fiddly to get in and out. So I knew she had an hour on me, so I didn't expect to catch her kind of in the next 15 miles. And then when I went past her, I thought she would come with me, and she chose not to, which was, so then I just had, it just isn't something I thought about. I thought about like lots of eventualities, like if my food wasn't agreeing with me, or if the weather if it was really hot or really cold, or if I'd had a bit of a fall, or all sorts of things to try and control the controllables. But I just hadn't thought what emotions I would experience going and being first lady, and then having to hold that for 55 miles. I genuinely didn't think I was going to be first lady until about 5k to go, when I saw Howard just before going into Hawes. And I had a few friends send me the odd message saying you're this far ahead. I honestly didn't believe them, because when you're like on struggle street and you just feel like you're slowing and slowing and slowing, but actually in your head you need to think everybody's been out for as long as I have, and they're probably having equally as tough a time. But I couldn't rationalize that. So not until like 5k to go did I.
And were you aware of the course record too?
I had a look. I'd looked at previous winning times, and I'd looked at the course record. I'd say I had like half an eye on it, but I just wanted genuinely to set out I wanted to get to the end feeling like I'd given the best performance that I was capable of, and whether that meant I was first, 10th, last, I really wasn't bothered. I just wanted to know that I couldn't have done any better. So while I did have an eye on it, it wasn't like at the forefront of my mind. So I was so stoked when I crossed the line and they said I'd got it. So yeah.
I was going to ask, when you saw after all of that time out on the course, and you finally saw the finish line, what was that like? I can't imagine it.
Just amazing. I mean, like I say, I've never been first lady before, so it was just so bizarre to have all those people stood around cheering me on, and it was just lovely. It was a really, really nice experience. The spine experience, whichever event you do, is incredible, and just felt a lot of love. It was really nice.
And then recovery, what does that look like? Are you still in this recovery phase, or you started training again?
So I had 2 weeks of no running at all, which was coach's orders, which was the right thing to do. And then annoyingly, I got a kidney infection, and then I've had COVID. So it's been a bit of a pants post race bit of time. But just last week, I've started a new training block. So back on it now. And my runs at the weekend, I felt like my legs had come back to me and I'd got the love again. And you know that you sometimes you really can lose the love, can't you, when you're so focused on an event and then but yeah, that's come back now. So yeah,
I think it's good advice. We talked 2 weeks after the Little 100 and you just echoed again, seeing it there. I think it's so important just to give your head and your body a bit of time just to reset and get ready to go again.
Training blocks are relentless, aren't they, as well? You know, everything is focused on it.
I took a look at some training plans and some of the sessions that would come early on, and I just immediately were like, I'm not ready for that just yet.
I don't want to press workout on my watch.
No.
So you said you just started a new training block. What are you training for? Anything specific, or are you just getting back fit again, or what's that?
Yeah, so I've got to put my spine obsession to bed. So I'm doing the Challenger North in January. So yeah, it's all eyes on that basically from now on.
I've covered every variant of the spine. Then it'll just be the full one the year after.
Potentially, maybe Jan 24. We'll see how January next year goes, because after January just gone, going 4 times the distance, I might change my mind, but
you're a different athlete now, though. You're a different athlete. You've learned lots. You'll have those spikes out, hanging off a loop. You'll have
I'll have my goggles on.
Yeah, from the start.
Lauren, actually, the weather's really good. You could probably take the goggles and the spikes off now. No, I'm ready. And do you think the training? Have you talked to Coach Howard yet about whether how that training is going to differ, or are you going to sort of follow the same program? You're sort of not there yet.
So I don't. Yeah, no, we've spoken about it. I don't think there's going to be much difference in terms of intensity or volume, which is good news, because the last couple of weeks I was pretty tired. Pre the summer challenger. I think they're just going to change the sessions slightly, so there's a bit more variety, but in the main it'll be a similar kind of format.
Did you do any strength work for carrying 8 kilograms?
Yeah, so I do strength and conditioning twice a week, which is a plan again that Howard provided me, and then I do I see a physio fairly regularly just to keep me in order. So I do the stretches that he gives me 3 times a week as well. And then the long runs, I tend to run with the pack. So to get used to.
How much running can you do with 8 kilograms on your back? Because I struggle over about 5.
How much running can I do?
Yeah.
I mean, in the lead up to, so when I started the endurance block for the summer challenger, which would have been like 6 weeks prior to the taper, I did all my long runs with the full kit, so up to 30 miles with it on, just to get used to the relentless feeling of it.
That's
right. But I know what you mean. So I know when I first started doing it, like 5-10 miles, I just wanted to go to sleep after. So
I want to do that after half an hour.
I should be making notes. This is all great. I never did any of this.
Right. Ooh. Are you ready, Gary?
Well, I got one last question. On your Instagram, I see quite a few Bob Graham round supports. Is that in the pipeline?
Not currently, no. A few of my friends have mentioned it. I've got friends that have attempted it or are due to attempt it, and I've got quite a lot of friends that have already done it. At the moment, I know you're not going to like this, but it doesn't really appeal to me at present. Don't get me wrong, like I love the hills, I love the Lake District, but I have to put my Pennine Way obsession to bed right now, and the two don't go hand in hand at the moment. So
they are different.
Yeah, it's not. I'd never say never, but yeah, just not at the moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you all want to be greedy and do a bit of everything. I think it's good to know what you're focused on and focus on that. Our quick 5 questions, if you're ready for this. I think we've excelled ourselves this week, Eddie.
Gary, I thought I'd excelled myself, and then you just and super.
I'm worried now.
But we think they're hilarious, so they're probably not funny.
Oh no,
they get better. They do get better. Okay, first one. If you could put one of these on your food forever, which would it be? Sugar or salt?
Oh.
Would you put like salt on cereal, or would it be the type of meat, or just any? Okay.
Choice.
I'm gonna have to say salt, only because I prefer savoury food over sweet food. But I might live to regret that.
It's a really tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you'd have to choose not to eat breakfast, and then you could probably survive on the salt.
And unless you had eggs, I suppose, and put a little bit of salt on eggs.
Classic, yeah.
There's a lot of thinking to do about that question.
We're talking about breakfast. Next question is your favourite breakfast cereal. Doesn't have to be cereal, actually, your favourite breakfast.
Well, my favourite breakfast would be smoked salmon and scrambled eggs. Easily.
That's dead posh, that, Gary.
That is good. That's a good one.
I'm quite partial to porridge, though. I do like a nice porridge with a bit of honey in it.
Yeah, classics. Lie-in or a late night?
Oh, a lie-in, absolutely. I don't have many lie-ins. I don't have many late nights either, to be honest. But definitely a lie-in.
Just more bedtime.
Yeah.
Apart from yourself, according to Google, who is the most famous Johnson? And it's not Boris.
Michael Johnson?
Oh, see, no, I would have said that, but in actual fact, it is Dwayne The Rock.
I was going to say Dwayne The Rock Johnson was my second choice. Yeah.
This is Google. It's not like fact.
So I think it's Michael.
Now, could you guess Dwayne The Rock Johnson's net worth? This is according to networth.com.
I honestly haven't got a clue. Can I have a parameter?
He could. Oh yeah, you could. All right then. To the nearest $100 million.
Oh, okay. $800 million.
Oh, wowzers! There you go. $800 million, and he has shares in some tequila company, which is doing quite well for him too. So.
Imagine how many Montaigne Gecko 20 litres he would buy.
He wouldn't wince at the kit list, would he?
He wouldn't worry about that.
The secret purchases that your partner does.
Well, he's massive, isn't he? Because he'd be like, 8 kilograms, I can carry 80. It's no problem for The Rock.
That would have been a good question. What is...
He'd just have it under his arm, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He'd just have you under his arm, Lauren.
Last one. You've run in every weather type imaginable. Your least favourite weather to run in?
Oh, thunder snow. It's going to be thunder snow.
I really hope you do. I think, though, if you get thunder snow again in January, you'll be ready for it. You'll embrace it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I probably would have said really warm weather, but I went out yesterday, did 18 miles and quite enjoyed it. So, yeah. Biblical weather, probably.
Not in, isn't it? Whenever it's like really hot.
Yeah.
I love to run in.
Thunder snow trumps the heat, I think. Cool.
Lauren,
that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing us just that little vignette of your journey. And I'm sure that people will be listening and be like, I love the fact that you have learned and so much in quite a short space of time, but you've learned so much with what you've done and you've taken it on and improved so much. So yeah, thanks for that. I'm sure people will be like, I need to do that. I need to, when I do these races, not just think about the result, but also reflect on what worked and what didn't and improve. Every day is a school day at Lauren's house.
It certainly is.
Thanks so much for having me. So I ask one last question while I've got you here. Did you practice hiking or was it all running?
Oh no, I did a lot of hiking as well. Yeah. Yep.
She had 8 kilograms on her back, Gary. She was like,
and I would hike with the full pack as well, actually.
Did you use poles?
I did, but I actually left my poles at there was an aid station at Cowling that a triathlon club had put on, and I left them there, which was about 100k in, and I realised after I'd gone down a really steep hill that I'd left them, and I just couldn't face the thought of going back up, which was actually a massive mistake because it meant I had 50 miles without them, and I pretty much crawled at Penny Ghent. So yeah, I had them for half of it.
And that's another good tip, isn't it? Because like if you drop fuel, if you drop anything and you think, you go the wrong way and you think, I don't need to go back, I can carry on. Always, if you think go back.
Yeah.
You won't do that again. I imagine
it's another lesson I've learned.
Another lesson. I imagine on the North Challenge, they probably won't come out of your hands anyway.
No.
Because you'll be ice for dear life. Anyway,
you're frozen solid.
Perhaps you'll run past me. Which way will this work? Or you'll be ahead of me. You don't want me to run past you on the spine. I don't know the way when you start. When does the North Challenger start?
So they're starting it at 6 p.m. on the Sunday, which is an interesting start time because it's normally
In the dark.
It's normally 8 a.m. Yeah. So we're starting off in the dark on the Sunday. Yeah.
So I shouldn't see you. If I find you lying on the trail, I'll say, "Where are your poles?"
I mean, if you catch me, will have gone quite wrong. Just give me a slap with your pole.
Get up, have a snack. I'll be like, "You're not snacking enough." Anyway, we look forward to, we'll be following your journey on Instagram, and best of luck with the next training blog. And
yeah, best of luck. I can't wait for that this weekend. A bit of dot watching. It's going to be awesome when the spine rocks up.
You're going to know everybody, Gary. We were going to. Yeah, thanks so much for the chat, Lauren.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks. Take
Lovely
care.
to meet you both. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for coming on the show. I hope everyone enjoyed listening to your journey. Good luck with the new training, and won't see you, hopefully, at the spine in January. But do make some lovely clear footprints through the snow and the bog for me. Maybe leave a sprinkle of cheer charge bars on the trail. Sorry if I grilled you a bit too much.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy the dot watching, actually. There's going to be lots of people I'm invested in.
You're not going to enjoy it. I bet you're going to be like a sort of nervous stat. You're going to be every morning, oh my God, she's there. Oh my God, what's she doing? She's in that checkpoint for too long.
It's quite, with these long events, especially when you're dot watching.
Isn't it? It's just mind-blowing. Right. Long events. Well, I'll talk about my event. Not quite so long, but still quite long. Coming up, the Edale Ring of Hell. Gary's complaining. Good on you, Gary, for the women out there going, why have they called this race the Ring of Hell when it's a bit off-putting? But actually, if you look at the map, there is about 4 rings of hell on this route. The ultra, there's various distances, but the ultra is 35 miles and almost 10,000 feet of climbing. And it sort of does lots of little variants around Edale. It looks a cracking course. Might be one for you in the future, Gary, you and Neil. So good luck. Hopefully a bit cooler temperatures, but I imagine the course will be rather dry this weekend. And then you spotted something else.
Yeah, yippee-ki-yay, the wild horse is coming to I didn't say that, I'm not spontaneous, I've copied that from their website. The wild horse is coming to the north, and it's bringing a humdinger, an event, the Wild Horse 200 North Wales route. Okie dokie, right, so you've got 220 hours, 5 days to complete a 200-mile mark trail course across the awe-inspiring North Wales. 25,000 feet of climbing. There's no repetitions or long out and backs, just one great adventure across the backcountry and mountains of North Wales along the Wales Course Path. Now, this race will have started before the show goes out, starts tomorrow, but it'll still be ongoing as this show airs on Friday. So, yeah, it'd be pretty awesome, actually, if some of the people competing are choosing to listen to us to distract them from some of those 25.
3 or 4G in North Wales on some of the routes that that's taking for them to download.
Up their mobile data. But yeah, oh my goodness me, another.
Just these epic races pop up. They're just getting more and more epic.
Goodness me.
Because
200 definitely is.
Yeah, were few and far between. When 100-mile races a few years ago were few and far between.
Yeah.
And now
it does feel that 200 is becoming the new 100.
New thing. It's a new thing, Gary. You'll be doing it.
I just can't imagine. My little legs weren't feeling so good at Fusedale. So
let's not talk about it.
But yeah, best of luck. Crikey, if you just toe the line, and I hope you are doing well if you listen to this podcast en route. Best of luck, everybody. You've got some visitors, Eddie.
I got some visitors, people coming to stay. I love people coming to stay. Jason and Kim Cavill are pulling into my drive tomorrow in their van. So I've got some running pals. We'll have some adventures. Jason's going to talk to me. We're going to
grill him.
He doesn't know this yet. I'm going in his van. If he wants to use my shower, I'm going to go first before.
Going to cost him spine credits.
I love friends coming to stay, so I'm super excited. And they came to stay a couple of winters ago. We had the most fun exploring the trails. So I can't remember if they've been out here in the summer before. Anyway, so I'll be spending maybe more than 3 tokens this week with Kim.
Oh, Eddie.
It'll be easy cruising miles.
You'll be chasing Jason. I know what you're like.
Oh, for sure. Jason's chatting. It's not on the uphill, I mean, but he's amazing downhill runner, and I love it when he comes to stay and I get to follow him running downhill. I say follow with he's a few switchbacks ahead, but so I'm super excited about that. Carving out a few more tokens this week. Hopefully, I'm not going to have quite a big running week. I'll put the bike back in. Now I've got my bike back available, because I think that was like a 13-hour running week, which is fine, but a bit too much running to be consistent for old Eddie legs. So
where'd you go from there? These are big numbers, Eddie. 70 miles, 13 hours.
Go 100 exercise. I'm getting up there, Gary. I'm getting up there. I'm a lean, mean racing machine. You won't be able to tell the difference between me and my lecky poles by the time I
Hey, we should be on some commission. I know people who've got lecky poles.
Oh my life. How many people? I mean, they should start the Eddie and Gary micro ultra trail lecky pole. We should have Run to the Hills podcast on the lecky poles, basically.
Yeah.
But I know lots of people. Well, I love that. That's the point of the podcast, isn't it? That we chat, and people like listening to chat, but we also aim to bring a host of various people to inspire and knowledge and motivation. And if we bring polls to your life, it's only improvement. It's only improvement. What about you? What you got?
Well, more of the same, just being a bit more consistent with the running, bringing that in, nothing crazy, no sessions. I think I've got another 2 weeks of this. Looking at Tour de Helvellyn training. I think we mentioned with Lauren, I wasn't ready to start sessions just yet. So just that, back a bit more. I was doing some foam rolling mobility yesterday, back on the bike, strength and conditioning. We're going out on Saturday, which would be quite nice. All the 100-mile finishes are going out for a few beers and pizza on Saturday evening, so that should be fun. I've got to lay off the donuts though. Still, donut count for this week. It's only Tuesday. I've had 3 already.
Oh, that is disgusting. I'm disgusted at you. Straight a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips, Gary. Come on.
I know. So but I enjoy my treats, and when I'm focused, I do. I literally until the Lake 100, I couldn't remember the last time I had a donut. So as much as I love them, I need to enjoy this time too.
It's very important to be able to. I think it's really important if you set yourself these strict rules and regulations to be able to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because it shows that they're not in control of you. You are in control of them. I use that, I feel good to go into a race clean and fresh and undonated. But
I do have a few false starts though. I think a few times I've said, right, is enough, enough's enough. And then I wander in the co-op and come out with a bag of donuts.
You and Bryn, those co-op donuts. I love it.
But what else am I doing? I think I did a YouTube video actually, which seems to be going down okay for me.
Shall we chat about this sort of bucket hat that's appeared in a lot of your social media?
Well, I voted for the Lake 100. But it wasn't tight enough for my head, so it kept blowing off. But anyway, I've just been wearing it. I am quite tanned. It's pretty farmer tan. If you took below this t-shirt, it's just a white stripe. But yeah, just trying to keep the sun off my head. So I thought the bucket hat. So the bucket hat, that silly desert cap. So I think the bucket hat slightly.
The baseball cap, just to.
Yeah, but then it's my ears, my neck, everything's getting frazzled. So the bucket cap is a bit better. So yeah, I did a YouTube video how to pack for your Lake 100. I thought it was quite useful, and in my YouTube channel it went down quite well. And I might do one on nutrition, race nutrition. So I'm thinking maybe some kind of YouTube video on that. But that is that for Gary. Yeah.
Well, sounds quite busy. I'm amazed you could spend this long without putting a donut in your mouth. You've been talking for a few hours. Shall we have a review? I think it's your turn.
Is it my turn? Yeah. Oh, we've got 2. We'll go from the top. Grumpy 1972.
Is this from you?
73. I'm very precious about that year. I love this podcast. Listen to you guys every week as I train, and I love every episode. In training myself for the 2023 Winter Spine, and finding these podcasts a great source of energy during the weekend long runs. See you in Edale. Another one I'll be watching. Grumpy 1972, reach out. I'd love to know who you are, because you'll be one on my list.
Thank you so much. Thanks for anybody who likes, shares, subscribes, and leaves us a review over on iTunes. I think that's the best place to do it.
Yeah, tell your friends, actually. We never do this. Yeah.
Tell your your friends talk about it on your long runs when you run out of conversation. Tell them listen to the podcast and you can have a jelly baby.
I have to check myself sometimes because I do. Oh, on the podcast, it's like sounds like some kind of.
You're such a loser, Gary. I already have like 2 friends over here that I don't think they really want to on about it. We also have launched our Patreon page. Thank you, Gary. Oh my God, Gary was beyond himself with the Patreon. I don't like that verb. I don't like that verb, gushing. Gary, he get messaging?
Glowing. There you go. Glowing's better.
Glowing. He was, yes, thank you so much. If you popped over there, just have a look. You don't need to do anything. You can give us a bit of feedback as well. Thank you to everybody who's joined us. Means the world to us. We've already had some ideas and a little bit of feedback on what we're going to do with the page. It is work in progress. So we'll probably, in the next few weeks as well, we might have a little change around some ideas. But yeah, do go over on the Patreon page. It's I read it here. www.patreon.com/runtothillspodcast. Super easy. I didn't know anything about it before Gary had the idea, and it's a good little format that as well.
I thought we would do because there's different levels of tiers and different perks, but until September, everybody who signs up as a patron will go in for a kind of random prize draw for some cheer charge goodies. And also, you sign up for this Patreon if you want to. You can cancel it. You're not committed. It's not like Sky TV or something where you have to 12-month contract.
Oh, and then you have to ring one of us and tell us why you're cancelling Patreon. Yeah, that's the only way you can cancel. Hotline, Garrett, and we're going to go, hi. Oh, why do you want to cancel?
That would be an awkward
it's just my kids crying in the background. Keep it all open and we'll keep progressing it. And yeah, jump in September. We might look at changing the tiers. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it is what it is. Thank you so much, everyone. Super thank you very much. Right, I've got to run. I've got kids to collect. Let's close this up. This bad boy.
Okay, what was that then? That was episode 103. Thanks for listening. Thanks to everyone. And thank you to Cheer Charge for continuing to support the show, sending bars to guest competition winners and keeping Eddie and I fueled in our adventures and generally being an all-round super supporter. Everyone out on the trails. I finally tried the orange Jaffa cake one. Oh my goodness me.
So good. So good. Try not to mix it with the donut. That's quite
Clash of the Titans. That we don't want to do that one. My name is Gareth Witt.
I'm Eddie Sutton.
And let's run to the hills.